Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you looking to get away from building the same commanders as everyone else all the time? Are you tired of playing the top 100 on EDH Rec always? Are you looking for something a little unique? A little special? Something with a little more twist to it? Then you've come to the right podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the DrawGo podcast. I'm your host, Jake, known in some spaces as SlyCrow, and today we're going to be talking about some Commander. Specifically, we're going to be talking about some unique commanders to build around. These aren't going to be the top 100 of EDH Rec, and not all of them are going to be like super niche, but they're going to be unique with some fun build-arounds and some fun mechanics that are probably going to give you a unique feeling to your deck. They're commanders that do something different or allow you to build around them in a unique way. They unlock different styles of play than the norm that you see, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them require a bit of a special build around. So, without further ado, let's start digging into our list here and see if we can find you a brand new commander. So, starting off, we're going to go to my personal favorite colors, Dimir, black-blue. Our first on the list is Mirko, Obsessive Theorist. This commander, Vampire Detective, costs Dimir and 1, has flying, vigilance, and whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Mirko Obsessive Theorist. At the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Mirko's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. If it would die, exile it instead. Number 235 on EDH Rec, this Dimir commander functions around the surveil mechanic, which personally is one of my favorites. Though a graveyard deck benefiting from surveil isn't new to Dimir, Mirko sets itself apart by being an engine in itself that grows from using the +1/+1 counters to then pull stuff from the yard. Basically, you're going to use your surveil mechanic that you are going to build your deck around to put the nastiest creatures Dimir can muster into the graveyard, and then use Mirko to pull them out. Adding cards like Enhanced Surveillance to have even more selection over what goes in the yard is essential. It allows you to look at not 1, but 3 cards when you surveil, every time you surveil. This gives you, right off the top, a much wider selection of cards that basically lets you manipulate your deck the way you want it. And as long as Mirko's surviving, and you're pulling things out of the graveyard, and putting things into the graveyard, you're going to have a dangerous board. Of course, you're going to want to be surveilling as much as possible to make Mirko really huge, so you're going to need to specifically build around the mechanic. You're going to need to include cards that have surveil on them. Obviously, surveil lands would help you. Undercity Sewers is great. But try to build around it so that all of your not bombs surveil for you. And obviously, if all else fails, get Mirko big enough and just smash your opponents with them. I mean, flying and vigilance is a dangerous combo, and if left unchecked, he's probably going to destroy an opponent all himself with just commander damage. Anyway, that does it for Mirko. Now let's move on to somebody a little funnier. So, second on our list is Blim, Comedic Genius. 2 and Rakdos. He's flying. Whenever Blim, Comedic Genius, deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of target permanent you control. Then, each player loses life and discards cards equal to the number of permanents they control but don't own. Number 487 on EDH Rec, this freaky little Rakdos guy gives your opponent stuff. But the joke is, he's going to hurt them for it. A lot. Funny, right? Well, the biggest punchline isn't just giving your opponents stuff. It's doing the obvious thing and giving your opponents cards that make them lose the game, like Archfiend of the Dross or Demonic Pact. He's actually really funny to play against because he kind of adds a chaotic element to the table that your opponents aren't going to like, but you'll probably get a kick out of. This guy is for the pranksters amongst us here in the Magic community, and you have the option to be a little funnier and just give your opponents big things that they can then use to destroy your opponents by like goading them. Or you can do the really mean thing and just start handing your opponents stacks pieces like Blood Funnel or Steel Golem. It's funny, right guys? Blim's funny. And obviously, you are probably going to become a target as soon as you introduce this guy to your pod. So build around him however you wish. You can build him, like I said, funny, or you can build him extremely punishing and stacksy. Either way, you're going to have a really fun time building Blim. And he's honestly not even a bad body for like the cost of him. He's a 4/3 with flying plus his ability. He's a funny little guy. Look at him. He's just a prankster. Moving on. Number 3 on our list is maybe my favorite commander that I found while I was constructing this list. This Boros commander, Ty Joaquin Perfect Shot from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I know, crazy, right? Boros cost. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal to that creature's toughness, draw a card. You can pay X and tap her. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player this turn, it deals that much damage plus X instead. Number 496 on EDH Rec. This, like I said, this Boros commander is genuinely so cool to me. Flavor-wise, it's awesome. A sniper who picks things off before any fighting even starts, so sick. It just, everything from the card art to the flavor of her ability, just, it makes me happy. As far as gameplay, you're throwing low-cost instants and sorceries and using rituals to dump mana into them and blow someone up. Doesn't matter if you have a wall of muscle, Ty Joaquin is going to hit you through them. If you can copy these spells or copy her abilities, that's even better. So why not turn a simple shock into a war crime, am I right? Hell, throw Grape Shot in there and watch everyone die. If you want to be really mean, look for infinite mana combos and finish everyone all at once. Basically, you're going to be dumping mana into Ty so that when you tap her, you can just blow up an opponent. And if that doesn't work, she also draws you cards if you manage to get the removal to remove a creature properly by dealing the exact damage to its toughness. So she also has a card draw engine built into her, which you don't necessarily need to build around, but it just helps. So if you're in Ty Joaquin's sights, you best find a way out of them, because she's not messing around. And this is one commander that I think I'm even going to build. I just think it's so cool. But moving on, that brings us to Cadena, Slinking Sorcerer. This legendary Naga wizard is built all around face-down creatures. She's Sultai in 1. The first face-down creature spell you cast each turn costs 3 generic mana less to cast. Whenever a face-down creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Number 323 on EDH Rec. This Slinking Sultai Sorcerer focuses on what's unknown to the enemy. Obviously, this commander was designed to work with Megamorph, but it also works with manifesting and cloaking. It's such an interesting concept to build around, as your opponents are facing a field of unknown possibilities to them. Basically, they don't know what's under there. You could have like the biggest creature in your deck just sitting there that you're able to turn up at almost any time. I think building around the Morph, Manifest, Cloak, and other face-down abilities is super rare already, Duskmourn excluded, and allows you to include cards that otherwise don't really see a whole lot of play. The threat is the unknown, and being able to get a cost reduction on the creatures you're casting each turn is going to help fill the board with a fog of war that your opponents have to really play around. Because they can choose to try to remove your manifested or morphed creatures, but then what happens? They waste a damage spell, you flip it, and their damage spell fizzles. Really, you can just disguise or cloak or manifest all of your biggest threats, and then your opponents have to sort of gamble around whether or not they want to remove the 2/2s or what have you that are swinging at them, or if they want to wait and see what the actual threat is. It's just kind of cool to me that you can kind of ambush your opponents because they don't really know what's going on until maybe it's too late. Moving on, we have a new Capenna commander, Vazi, Keen Negotiator, Jund and 2, Haste, tap, target opponent creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of treasure tokens you created this turn. Whenever an opponent casts a spell or activates an ability, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it or activate it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then draw a card. Number 614 on EDH Rec, this Jund commander shows that sometimes it pays to be generous with your wealth. Everyone knows about the Treasure Decks archetype, but what about Treasure Group Hug? Only Vazi's going to make your creatures massive for giving your opponents treasures. Not only that, but she makes great use of cards like Hellkite Tyrant, who is just going to rob all of the treasures from your opponent, Vengeful Tracker, and Kellogg Dangerous Mind to turn the treasures your opponents have into your gains. To build around Vazi, you want to have it so that the treasures that your opponents are making, that you're giving them, become your treasures, or at least your benefit. Have cards that drain them when they sacrifice something, like Mayhem Devil, for instance. Just have it so that they're scared to even use the treasures you're giving them. But on the politics side, hey, I'm the good guy. I'm giving everybody mana to play with. Little do they know, if they don't deal with Vazi, well, they have some big threats coming their way. Next on our list is somebody a little meaner. Malik, Grim Manipulator, Mardu N2. When Malik, Grim Manipulator, enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each secretly choose a creature that player controls. Then, those choices are revealed, and that player sacrifices those creatures. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a creature, you create a treasure token. Say hello to number 667 on EDH Rec. This Mardu commander mixes some politics and some hostage situations into one. Yeah, Malik can be played as a blink target, as a mana ramper, and as a sack benefit. It's a super interesting card to me because it adds a little minigame to the table. The player you choose to target needs to try and think about what you're going to choose in order to minimize the damage you do. The whole time, you're ramping with Malik, and cards like Morbid Opportunist, or a personal favorite of mine for this deck, Revel in Riches, are benefiting you even more. The minigame that you and your opponent are playing are basically just trying to get into each other's head, thinking about what you're each going to select. And obviously, your opponent is going to try to select the same creature as you to minimize damage done to their board. But maybe you have to outthink them and choose a creature that they wouldn't suspect. Or maybe you knew that they would know that, which means you need to think about what they think that they know. I don't know. Anyway, Malik's really fun. And obviously you can make him even more effective with pingers like Mirkwood Bats or previously mentioned Mayhem Devil, and include other cards that, demand sacrifices from your opponents. Basically like Plague Crafter or Fleshbag Marauder. Just keep the sacrifices going, and you'll keep benefiting from Malik as he manipulates the table and makes you rich. He's a cool little rogue. Next up on the list is Noctis, Heir Apparent. Esper cost. White, blue, black. Whenever a creature you control enters during combat, you may attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. Then, he has an ability called Warp Strike. Pay 3, exile Noctis, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, tapped and attacking at the beginning of that player's next declare attacker step. It can't be blocked that combat. Number 693 on EDH Rec is an interesting Final Fantasy card that equates to an unblockable Esper Voltron. Well, at least that's how he seems on the surface. And if you're just reading it at surface level, he's not exactly the most unique when you just mentioned that style because he sounds exactly like Voltron. But if you actually think outside the box with how he works, not only does he benefit from his own ability, Warp Strike, which lets him flash himself in attacking, but he benefits from other creatures who flash or use ninjutsu. Yeah, consider that our emo boy here was actually the perfect ninjutsu commander. Think about equipping Nashi, our resident rat boy, with a Colossus Hammer and letting him smack one of your opponents for just immense damage out of nowhere. Think about it. Send an unblockable Slitherblade at an opponent, ninjutsu in a creature, and boom, blow someone up with crazy equipment. Obviously, when you're building around him, Creatures that have flash, or creatures that tutor up equipment, or creatures with ninjutsu, like I mentioned, are going to be super important. Obviously, tutors like Cloud, Midgar Mercenary, or Open the Armory are going to be a huge part of the deck because you need them to find the proper equipment to equip to your creatures. But overall, Noctis is a super cool commander to me who combines a couple of really unique things, ninjutsu and Voltron, and makes them one. You will constantly be keeping your opponents on your toes here because they never know where the big damage is going to come from. Do you have it in your hand? Who knows? Next on the list is Marsil, the Pretender, Grixis, and 1. When Marsil the Pretender enters the battlefield, you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand or graveyard and put a cage counter on it. Marsil the Pretender has all activated abilities of all cards you own in exile with cage counters on them. You may activate each of those abilities only once a turn. Number 1039 on EDH Rec. This card right here, like many Grixis commanders, might get you in some trouble, because this guy is an actual Swiss Army knife of a being. Marsil can start to become a problem because it can make itself insanely hard to remove by using cards like Aetherling to give it evasion. But also, this guy can just become removal on a stick, give itself indestructible, and use Nevin Ral's disc to just blow everything up all the time. The possibilities with this monster are kind of endless, and it isn't hard to find ways to keep untapping them to make it so you can really use every ability stapled on here. Throw in an Illusionist Bracers and a Battle Mage's Bracers too, why not? And then you have activated abilities for days. Basically, look for all the worst abilities you know, the ones you hate on every card, and put them in the deck. As long as it fits the Grixis colors, that red, blue, and black, you can become the villain. So, why don't you make Marsil the true one-trick pony, and go ahead and try to build them. They look super fun, super mean, but hey, that's Grixis. Next on our list, we have Dynaheir, Invoker Adept, Jeskai, and 1. Haste. You may activate abilities of other creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. Tapper. When you next activate an ability this turn by spending 4 or more mana to activate it, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Sorry if I butchered her name, but number 1288 on EDH Rec is a Jeskai Abilities Matter commander. It's super interesting to see a commander trying to bust out abilities from cards and giving them the massive benefit of copying them with just a little bit of downside that, hey, it costs 4 or more mana to be able to trigger this ability. But don't let the mana clause scare you away. This is an investment, and you need to think of it as such. Invest in a card like Time Stream Navigator, copy its abilities, suddenly you're taking some extra turns. Include a Lithoform engine, and well, you're taking a lot of extra turns. What will you do with these turns? We'll start burning people out with Baal's Invoker, or use Encore abilities on cards like Angel of Indemnity, or the ability on Ortheon, Hero of Lavabrink, and overwhelm your opponents. Honestly, find some untapped cards like Clever Conjurer and keep the ball rolling. Now, this commander takes a lot of setup, but think about how sweet it would be to pull off. Think about all the sick abilities that you can use to just blow up your enemies. I love this. I think it's so cool to be able to just copy abilities and some of the most powerful abilities. You can even throw in like Chaos Wand or something if you want it to be more fun than strong. Overall, this commander actually has a lot of potential for strength and for fun, and I think that you should try him out. Next on our list is one who's definitely not the most unique, but I just thought they were cool. Volo, Guide to Monsters, Simic, and 2. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. A copy of a creature spell becomes a token. Number 220 on EDH Rec. This guy obviously isn't the most unique, especially when it comes to Simic, but he's awesome. Volo does the thing he wants to do really easily because, in case you didn't know, Commander's a singleton format, which means everything you are playing is going to copy itself with his ability. This means he's going to make a ton of copies of your nastiest Simic big guys. So, do what Simic does best and ramp your way into some big beasties. For instance, drop an Apex Devastator onto the field, or Gruff triplets, and watch the fear overtake your opponent's eyes as they turn into more clones of themselves. That's a lot of Gruff boys. But the easy thing is, Simic loves to ramp. All they do is ramp. That's their biggest thing. So, just find the mana for the biggest creatures that you can possibly fit in the deck, play them out, watch Volo do his thing. It's just super fun, super cool, and I think if you already love being a Timmy, you love playing big stompies, Volo's the guy for you. Now, last on our list for today's episode is Baba Lysaga, Night Witch. Golgari and 1. Tap. Sacrifice up to 3 permanents. If there were 3 or more card types among the sacrifice permanents, each opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life, and you draw 3 cards. Number 483 on EDH Rec. Baba Lysaga is a fun witch with some major sacrifice benefits. I find her fun because her unique build-around comes from the fact that she requires the sacrificing of 3 different permanents. So she's a little twist on the aristocrats kind of game plan, which is just sacrifice, a token. Yes, she does that. But the fact that it has to be 3 different kinds to trigger her ability is kind of fun. And I'm not saying it's a hard thing to do. So many things make tokens to sacrifice these days. I just find her benefits are kind of crazy. She drains your opponents, she gains you life, and lets you draw cards. She's a super fun Golgari commander that really fits into the flavor of a dark witch of the woods that you might run into on your adventures. Sacrifice creatures and use something like Thornbite Staff to keep the ball rolling. Keep on killing your own stuff to destroy your opponents, and find some ability doublers like Illusionist Bracers to double the effects. Baba ensures you won't run out of gas by drawing you cards, and also cushions your life total to keep it going, so that don't necessarily get killed on the clapback if you don't finish everybody off on your turn. You can also use cards like Call the Weak to generate a mana advantage to keep playing more from your hand as you're drawing cards, and cards like Pitiless Plunderer to build up your treasure stockpile so that you can keep casting things, or paying to activate other abilities. And if you want to be even more mean, well, you could throw a Grave Pact into the mix and keep your opponent's boards clear as well. So she may not be the most unique, but I just find that her payoff for the sacrifice mechanics are just so cool and allow you to do so much with them that I think she's worth building around. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. Did you hear a unique commander you're going to build around? What are some cool commanders I missed? Who's your favorite unique commander? And remember, if you enjoyed this episode and want to support the show, please follow us on Instagram at DrawGo Podcast, and find us on YouTube on the SlyCrow channel. You'll find the DrawGo Podcast, gameplay videos, deck techs, lore vids, and more. And please rate the show. It will help so much. So until next time, guys, have a great week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.